Chris.
I'm Chris.
And we're back to the Spike and Chris show at long last. All the medical emergencies are cleared. All the things on our dockets are cleared. You spent time in prison, but hey, it's all good now. So
Prison.
it's
Luxury.
such a thing.
I
Anyway,
was moving up.
it's been very, very 2020. Anyway, so what's happened? You tell me.
I tell you,
Break
well,
Break it down for me.
apparently 2020 has affected some DC people.
Yeah, it's been a no good, very bad week for DC comics.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Especially when the DC fandom is coming up in a few days?
This week, yes.
This week, yeah.
We are recording this on Sunday, August 16th, 2020. For those of you, in case we make any dated references or you don't understand what's going on, we're recording it on that date. So now,
Yes.
Fandom is the big DC brouhaha, since nobody's allowed to do Comic-Cons this year because Rona.
And there's a huge list of stars, plans, everything that's going to be happening over DC fandom. But we also had a bunch of layoffs. About a third of DC has had layoffs. Well, permanent layoffs. Basically, people out of the job. Period.
What happened was there'll be plenty of celebrities at Fandom, but there's not going to be as many DC people at it because AT&T needs to make a debt payment, and so a third of DC's management, 20% of their writers and artists, all been let go. A third of the DC Universe staff has been let go, so you can pretty much kiss DC Universe goodbye, because they're already having all their stuff migrated over to HBO Max. So if you're a fan of DC Universe, probably need to start getting ready for the changeover. But
That means I'll have to get HBO Max now.
which means if you have a Roku or an Amazon Fire on your TV that you stream through, you're still SOL, because still no HBO Max or Peacock on either one.
Oh.
Because they still haven't reached an agreement on profit sharing from ad revenue and stuff like that. But
Still sucks, though.
from what I'm seeing, they've canceled a bunch of books over at DC. Teen Titans is gone. Young Justice is gone. Suicide Squad is gone, thank God, because that one was poorly executed. Hellblazer is gone, and Hawkman, along with a bunch of others. And quite frankly, I haven't kept up with any of them. I know that Harley Quinn is in Suicide Squad, so I have paid zero attention to it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand from a business point of view, yeah, get rid of stuff that nobody wants, like certain merchandising ideas, like nobody wants, to see Superman and Batman wearing some type of really stupid outfit that makes no sense to their characters, which happens a lot.
They're still threatening Black Batman, so that was supposed to be part of the 5G thing, was Black Batman. Black Man. Which is idiotic. Come up with your own characters, y'all.
Yeah.
Honestly. Stop the race lifting. Because, okay, we've gone over race lifting before, right? On this show, we've discussed what race lifting is.
Sex changing, racism,
Sex changing,
everything.
you're doing that, okay. You take an existing character and you change their race, or you change their sex, or you change their gender, or you change their sexual orientation. Let me explain exactly what that communicates. You are trying to appeal to a niche audience. Okay, if you're doing a race lift, you are by definition going for a minority audience. Okay, what you're telling the minority is you're too lazy to come up with an original character. What you're going to do is take an existing character, color him black instead of white. Ta-da! Here's your black superhero right here.
Or take a character that is either female or black, and that nobody really talks about, like, for instance, Static X, or is it? Yeah, Static X? Static Shock.
Static Shock, yeah.
Static Shock. Perfect example. Kind of like Peter Parker and the whole Spider-Man thing. Static Shock would have been a perfect Spider-Man-ish for the DC.
Out of all the Milestone things, we'll talk about Milestone here in a second, but out of all the Milestone properties, that's the one that's shown legs. But why in the hell nobody has resurrected Blood Syndicate, at least for HBO Max? You want to talk about multicultural thing. Milestone Media was founded back in the early 90s. The idea was it was created by minority creators, owned by minority owners, and distributed by DC Comics.
Yeah.
Blood Syndicate had, I'm struggling here, I think they had 2 black characters, 2 Hispanic characters. They had a dog, they had a transgender, and 1 Chinese national, and I believe there was a couple of others that I can't think of right now. Either way, that's as multicultural pals as they come. And it was all built into their character because they made references, cultural references, that were separate for each one. So it's not just a paint job. Nobody said it yet, okay? We're going to start a new segment on this show. It's going to be called Nobody's Called It Yet, okay? And I'm going to be the first one to call it. You ready?
Okay,
you ready for this?
Go
okay.
For it.
I'll get myself in trouble doing this stuff, okay? We call it race lifting now. I'm going to call it the new blackface. It's a matter of time. Somebody on the left is going to call it the new blackface. And they're absolutely right, because that's exactly what race lifting is. It's a minstrel show. You take something white, you put blackface on it, and pass it off as being black.
Yeah.
Okay? They made, in the comic books right now, Shazam, Captain Marvel, not Marvel Captain Marvel, DC Captain Marvel. Shazam is Hispanic. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
No, because nobody's been reading that book. Face paint is what it is.
But, I mean, that's the thing that really gets me is like, well, I mean, you know, you can actually look at some characters and be like, I don't care what they do with that character. Like, I'm a big Batman fan.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if they decide to make Batman an African American, that doesn't actually bother me, none at all. But it would bother me if they took Superman and changed him into an African American for some reason.
There was,
I don't know why.
There was a series. I need to sit down and I need to read it. I've never gotten around to actually reading this. It was from Marvel. It was done years ago. It was a Captain America storyline called Red, White, and Black. Okay?
Right.
The idea here, and this, I thought this was an awesome idea. I actually popped when I heard it. The idea is Steve Rogers was not the first one to get the super soldier serum. Okay?
Right.
All right. He got the perfected version of the serum. What they had to test it on somebody, so they went to the Tuskegee Institute and tried it out on black men first. Now the version just before the one Steve Rogers got, he was the lone survivor of that entire experimental program. This is a black man in the 1940s with all the powers. He has the enhanced speed, the enhanced strength, the enhanced reflex, all that stuff. He has all the enhanced abilities of Captain America, but he's black.
I got you.
Now, here is the hilarious part, and I believe they actually worked this into the storyline, which, like I said, I've still got to review this. Scott, if you're watching this, put me down for a copy of Red, White, and Black, if you can ever find it. It's a Captain America thing. Anyway, in the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Air Force at the time, in World War II, the military brass wanted all the services desegregated.
No.
Because they didn't, you had to work as a cohesive unit, you had to get every resource available, so they did not want to, anybody who would, white or black, who came in and tried to instigate racial trouble would get their chops busted for it.
Yeah.
It was FDR, good old New Deal himself, who despised black people and insisted that the divisions be racially divided. They had to be segregated, or FDR would throw the generals into the sea and find new generals who would do what he wants.
Oh.
So it was him, and I believe they actually worked that into that. So anywho, It can be done right if you
Yeah.
put some thought into it. But
It can be. I mean, I just don't understand why they take characters and do that with when there's characters that already exist. Just make them more popular so the audience will shut up. Basically, like I said, even Blue Beetle, wasn't he Hispanic?
yes, in the third version he was.
Okay, well, Blue Beetle, Hispanic.
That was actually
Static
that was
Shock.
actually very well done.
Yeah,
the Blue
I mean,
Beetle
they
transformation.
were really good.
Because Ted Cord was killed off, which I disagreed with. That was the second Blue Beetle. He was a white guy. He was a rich white guy. He was basically Batman, but with more gadgets, if you can believe that. But it was the Jamie Reyes was the third Blue Beetle, and he was the one who actually got the Beetle Scarab that Ted Cord carried around all the time. He's the one who got the Scarab to work. And that's when they made him more of a cosmic intergalactic character. And all of a sudden, and that's the one I think most people identify Blue Beetle with to this day, is Jamie Reyes. And should be, because it's a well-done character.
Exactly. Static Shock and Blue Beetle are two amazing stories that can be told, but nobody pays attention to them. But if DC wants to, have that culture change that is going on, what better way than to take characters that is already African American, already Hispanic, already female, whatever, and put it out there.
DC needs to get off their butts and finish the Milestone Project. The Milestone Project has been in the works now for 4 years. I think they've been fighting Dan DiDio and a couple other people at DC trying to get it done. Basically, they're going to resurrect the entire Milestone line. Now, how well they're going to be able to get it done with AT&T now wanting their tribute and stuff like The Godfather, I don't know. But how did we get from DC's no good, very bad day to talking about Jamie Reyes, the third Blue Beetle?
I have
Wow,
no idea.
Wow, we wander far afield. Anywho.
That's what we do.
It's now the scuttlebutt online is that AT&T is wanting. They're actually recruiting people from esports. That's where you sit around and watch other people play video games.
Yeah.
People are actually good at it. They're going to take people from esports, like producers and stuff, bring them in to DC Comics to serve in an editorial fashion to help improve the marketing, the distribution, the execution of the plans, come up with a game plan. And I know a lot of people in the industry are losing their minds over this idea. But what's one of the rules? I have 3 rules. What's one of them?
Everything's been done before.
It's all been done before. And
he always reminds me of this.
back in
Back
the mid-'70s, DC Comics went through this with, of all things, the Kinney Shoe Corporation. Kinney Shoes bought Warner Brothers, bought DC Comics. Okay, so actually, I think Kinney Shoes bought DC first, and then they bought Warner. I believe it's something like that. They wound up merging the two. So DC in 1975 saw that they had Kinney Shoes and they had Warner Brothers, and they're like, hey, we got a blank check. We can do anything we want. So that's when the so-called DC explosion hit, and all these brand new titles came out. And Kinney Shoes said, no you don't. We're taking the checkbook back. That's led to the DC implosion of 1976 when all these books were canceled, and a few more besides to make up the difference. And in 1977, they installed new leadership. Somebody who wouldn't see a blank check and go running off with it. And that's when they hired Jeanette Kahn. Jeanette Kahn became the publisher of DC 76, 77, in that area. She was with Scholastic Books and had created the kids magazine Dynamite. Nobody thought about kids reading magazines and stuff unless they were comic books or like highlights for children. She's the one who came up with a pop culture magazine for kids. And it sold like gangbusters. Even I read the thing. And she wound up getting the head spot at DC for it. If it wasn't for Jeanette Kahn, we would not have had the Crisis on Infinite Earths. We would not have had The Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen. Hellblazer, the new Teen Titans, all these Batman things, the Batman the Animated Series, we wouldn't have any of those things if it wasn't for Jeanette Kahn. So bringing an outsider in can work because they're going to come in not knowing what the industry is prejudiced against, and they're going to go ahead and try to do it, and it's going to work. And all of a sudden, all the scales and the rust is going to be shaken off. DC could come out of this a lot leaner and meaner. So DC may not necessarily disappear, and if there's anybody at AT&T with two brain cells to clack together, you listen to Jim Lee. Do not do away with the publishing, because that's where your new franchises come from. I know they're not doing a very good job of building any here recently, but it doesn't mean it can't work. As in Milestone, as in the reestablishment of the JSA.
Yeah.
All this other stuff. Hang on and see, but anyway.
Hopefully.
The other thing would be Marvel. Marvel's got to be crap in their drawers right now, because Disney is cash starved from all reports, and Disney's going to be looking at how much money AT&T's saving off of this and be like, hey, why don't we try that?
Well, I mean, you know, it's one thing to have something that goes off the rails and become huge, but it's another thing then to take that property and start doing all kinds of different things with that. Mm-hmm. And it's like you can go on Disney XD, and there's all kinds of different types of Spider-Mans. There's all kinds of different types of the Avengers now, and it's just like, okay, you know, you're putting too much into one thing.
Well, on the other hand, you can have a character, if the character is influential enough, if it's big enough, it can start applying to different, you can have niche followings for certain interpretations. I, for example, absolutely adore the Brave and the Bold cartoon series. That was where Batman teamed up with somebody new every week. It was a little goofy, a little campy, kind of like the 1966 version, but it was fun from start to finish, and didn't last nearly long enough. And, I mean, just look at Batman. You've got Batman 66, which is the Adam West version. You have the Dark Knight Detective from like the early 70s, which was like Jim Aparo and Denny O'Neil and all these guys. And then you had the Dark Knight version that was started by Frank Miller, the Year One version with David Mazzucchelli, and you've had all these others. You have the jerk-ass Batman we got now. All these different interpretations of Batman, and guess what? They're all Batman. They're all recognizable as Batman, but Batman has become strong enough, big enough, that people are interpreting it in different ways. There's nothing wrong with that.
True.
And it's not to say you put blackface on Batman and think it's... Because we already had one in what's called Batwing. It was out there for about a year as part of the new 52. It was a black Batman-sponsored Batman, part of Batman Incorporated, which was an idiotic idea. But anyway, but that was the African version of it. That went over well. That just changed the bar right there. But anyway. So what do you think? Now, you're not so much... You haven't been watching the industry for 30 years like I have. What do you think? On the outside looking in, you see DC's lost a third of their editors, 20% of their staff. DC Universe has lost a third of all their staff, period. What are you thinking about DC right now?
I'm worried about the comic book industry. That it's all going to be digital and no more just paper. Worried about that. I'm worried about some... just too much change, and you know, like how we talked, like, you know, it's like changing things, turning this guy into a female to make people happy and stuff like that, you know, that type of change. They haven't said what they're going to do. I'm afraid that that's what's going to happen, and I don't want that. I
think what happens to the industry, let me be Karnak here and pull out my crystal ball. We pull out my little envelopes and hold it to my head. If the industry is smart, they're going to understand Your average comic book now costs $5. That's untenable. Okay, kids. I mean, kids have more money now than they did when I was a kid, unfortunately. But they're still not going to drop $5 is either one comic book or it's a month of Hulu. Which one are you going to go with? I can read 2 comic books in a month, or I can get a month of Netflix. Which one am I going with? I can get 3 comic books, or I can get a month of HBO Max, and I can watch all these skin flicks and stuff that my parents knowing, because HBO doesn't verify age identities very well. But I digress.
Okay, wait. I gotta say something about HBO Max stuff. Did you hear what they did with Blazing Saddles?
Yeah, they put a... Well, you explain it. Tell
Okay, so HBO Max, due to the fact with, you know, what's happening right now with race and all that, they're putting a little thing before movies talking about what it has. Well, Blazing Saddles is a great comedy. It does have a lot of racial things in it. Well, they put a warning on there talking about, hey, if this offends you, don't watch it. I find it just really weird how they did that, but yet they took Gone with the Wind off the shelf.
They took Gone with the Wind off the shelf and they got their fingers burnt. They got burnt to a bacony little crisp. The little
It's
pigs.
hilarious.
So now, I actually tweeted something about this a while back. It was from the Babylon Bee. People were rushing. This is from last month. People were rushing to Best Buy to buy as many copies of Blazing Saddles as they could before it disappeared.
I don't blame them.
Ta-da! A month later, here we go. But it didn't disappear. It's got the little disclaimer. Hey, if you want your trigger warnings, get
That's
your
the
trigger
best way to
warnings,
do it.
okay? I have no problem at all with trigger warnings. I think it's idiotic, but I think it's your problem if you're looking for trigger warnings. I believe as a parent, as an older parent, I believe I like the rating system that they have. Or
Yeah.
they'll tell you you've got language in this one. You got violence, you got nudity, you got sexual situations, you got suggestive dialogue. Thanks. That gives me a hint. Because if I see TVMA on something, I'm far less likely to watch it than TV-14. If I see TV-14, I'm far less likely to watch it than if it's TV-PG, because I don't need to see that crap. Because I know if I see TVMA, 9 times out of 10, they're using language, nudity, sexual situations, suggestive dialogue, and violence as a substitute for storytelling. And I don't want that crap. It's the same reason I don't watch Friday the 13th or Halloween or any of that other crap.
That's the thing. I mean, we've already talked about this when we were talking about Gone with the Wind. And I said they need to put things, you know, rearrange it to where if this offends you, it will be right there before the movie even starts in the disclaimer, because that's what it is.
Rather than editing for content.
It's just like, you know, again, I said this before, if you have medicine or a bleach bottle and it says literally, do keep out of reach of, you know, children and stuff, if your kids get into it, you can't necessarily sue the people who made the product because it says right there. It's your job to read what's there.
But that requires you taking responsibility. The great American pastime in 2020 is shirking responsibility. It's the only exercise a lot of folks get anymore.
Speaking of responsibility,
Yes.
are we allowed to go on to the next?
Yeah, we can go into something else.
Speaking of responsibility and changes and... Okay, I got a rant. This really makes me mad. This has made me mad for the last few days now.
Yeah.
Alright, so I've always been the one that, you know, spoke up for Netflix. I'm the one that has always loved Netflix. I stand by their side when people put it down. It pissed me off. They pissed me off.
But they do.
So, alright.
They have Legend of Korra, don't they? On Netflix.
Not yet. We're talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, the live action remake?
Yes. So, in case you guys don't know, Avatar: The Last Airbender is a cartoon series that spanned off to a second half, which is called Legend of Korra, and it's all from Nickelodeon. Now, the guys who created this entire thing has some. I mean, this is one of those cartoons that is like, it really has a fantastic storyline. It's really like a lot of thought was put into this. It's not really for little kids. It's like anime, but not. You know,
it's westernized anime, yeah.
But it is so darn good. And the creators of the show had nothing to do with the live action movie at all.
They
the
did.
Night.
They did, but they've walked off because they considered a dumpster fire.
And it was. Well, so Netflix asked them to come on so they can do a live action TV series of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Everybody was excited. I was one that was like, yes. Now, apparently to these guys, the creators, Netflix promised them that they would have total control and they would do anything that they would say if they needed for the show. And then somehow Netflix decided, screw all that, we're going to do it our way. We're going to change things. And now the guys, the creators, walked away from the show. And literally put out a statement talking about the whole thing, about their breaking promises and all that, and that what you will end up seeing on Netflix will have nothing to do with them.
Yes, I saw that. I'm gonna say I have no beef in this jerky because I didn't care for the original Avatar.
Really?
I didn't even like the movie Avatar, or the live action movie Avatar, or the one with the blue guy's Avatar, which was like was just like Smurf the Wet Dream or something.
We're not talking about that Avatar. Don't
No,
get
not
these
that
people
Avatar.
confused.
Not that Avatar.
Not that
Not that Avatar. Not that Avatar. This Avatar. But yeah, the and I don't even know what to say about it because, like I said, I slept through Legend of Korra.
Really?
I didn't care for Legend of Korra that much. It's one of those things where I'm not going to begrudge anybody who likes it. It's just not my cup of tea. But I don't drink tea. I'm a coffee drinker, so what do I know? But
See, I drink tea.
Legend of Korra is supposed to be showing up on Netflix here shortly.
Yeah, it's supposed to show up.
That's the original.
This
That's
month or something like that.
not the original version, but the one that was on Nickelodeon that took them forever and a day to get through it.
I don't know how that just happened, but I was really angry about the whole thing. I had this big rant for it, and then I looked over there behind the camera, and I see.
Wee! Hi!
I see that thing smiling at me.
We got the big old wiggle guy over here. You remember several months back I got the beloved wife a little inflatable waving guy.
Yeah.
We've got one, and the beloved wife has it propped up against the wall, and it's sitting there smiling at us as we go.
So that just put a smile. So there's going my reaction.
Let me see if I can take the smile back off your face, because Disney Plus is bringing the Star Wars Holiday Special back.
Lego version.
Lego version.
Yes,
and
I just saw the trailer for
and
that.
from what I'm hearing, Rey is going to be in it. And she's supposed to be cussing Luke Skywalker up and down.
Oh.
I guess they're trying to find ways to make this worse. I mean, the holiday special is funny because if Star Wars refuses to admit it exists. It was funny because George Lucas didn't want to admit he did that for the cash. But to see a Lego version of it, Lego can make things better, but I don't know how it's going to work with this. I'll let them do it. I'm not going to pay for Disney Plus, so I go see. If I didn't buy Disney Plus to see Hamilton, I ain't going to pay for it to see this. But
see, I'm still a subscriber, believe it or not. Even though I watch more Hulu and Netflix than what I do Disney Plus. That's mostly because as soon as I got Disney Plus, I went and watched all the old shows that I've been wanting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Tailspin, DuckTales, all that. Which third season of DuckTales?
Yeah,
is
that's coming up,
soon.
but it's going to have a 1 hour special to it.
Yeah,
Anyway, go ahead.
And so yeah, I mean, I don't watch it. I am getting really tired of flipping on there, seeing if they added something new, and it's all nature stuff. Like, how many little kids get on there and be like, oh, it's a documentary on Africa. There's a documentary on, the Congo. There's a documentary on, it's like, stop that. Or behind the scenes where, this is how we build this. And it's like,
Disney has always been a little more. Has always tried
Everywhere.
to attract the hardcore fans more than anything. If they're going to take $1, they're going to take 100.
See, that's the thing though. It's like Disney is everywhere. So it's like they got sports, cartoons, movies, old stuff, nature programs, documentaries. But instead of putting it all in order, it's like we're just shuffling it all up.
Yeah, just throw it
So
on
it's
the
a
wall
big
and see what
mess.
sticks. Yeah.
And that's like,
Yeah,
that's what loses me, because
that's
I
what
get on
happens.
there and it's like,
This is what happens when you allow engineers to do your organization. Bad idea.
it's bad.
Just like you don't want doctors to dictate when the release schedule is going to be for movies and stuff, you don't want a bunch of Disney Imagineers laying out your online video format. But anyway,
It's bad.
and actually, I don't know. Well, our last episode we did was with Scott. That was 2 weeks ago. Did you talk about Mulan coming to Disney Plus for like an extra $30?
I know I have talked about it. I don't know if it was then but yeah. We didn't talk about how much it was going to be. It was coming
$30
to.
plus the Disney Plus subscription. That's idiotic right there.
But
Not as idiotic as doing a live action remake of Mulan, but hey.
I mean, I see why they did that. But the great thing is that when you pay for it once, you actually own it.
That's
It's right there. Like, you don't have to
That's
rent
big.
or
That
something
is a
like
big
that.
difference. That's not a 24-hour or 48-hour.
It'd be part of your Disney Plus. It'd be right there.
Although, our friends over at 10th Frame Cinema have informed us that a new movie is coming out on Friday the 21st of August 2020. Finally, after, oh Lord, that's about a 5-month absence, we're finally getting new releases.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the best reputation out of all the movies out there because it actually released theatrically in Europe before the Rona-geddon hit. But it was,
Is it?
it's interesting because it's Russell Crowe being a bad guy.
And all he wants, he's killing people, and all he wants is an apology.
Yep. Kind of like falling down but sideways. You're
Yeah,
falling sideways.
Pretty
but
much. Road rage. What was it called?
I don't know what it was called, but it was
See, if I knew he was going to bring that up, I would.
on something or other. But anyway, I know it's hitting about 60% critical on Rotten Tomatoes and about 45% on audience reviews. That's from Europe. So it's out there. So if you want to get out of the house, by all means. Actually, if you want to get out of the house right now, go watch Batman '89, which is currently in 10th frame. We watched that yesterday.
Yes, let's
Oh,
talk
my
about
goodness.
that.
Let's talk about
Oh.
Batman '89, and we could do an hour on Batman '89. I'm not going to do it, but we could do an hour on it.
Yeah, we talked forever about
But oh my goodness, we've talked before on this show about watching older movies on a large screen and how some movies you got to see on a large screen. Batman's one of those. It's one of those things that's a lot different now to see it on a large screen and you start seeing all the little details.
Yeah, it
Makes a big difference. You can, I mean, I knew Tim Burton's the director, Tim Burton's an animator, and you can tell he's an animator, not just by the way he blocks shots, not just by the way he designs scenes, but there's a lot of animation in this movie. It's not to Roger Rabbit levels, but like 5 minutes into the movie, you're seeing a brooding Batman watching down on the screen, and it's animated. So when he turns and you see the cape fly up and he takes off into the dark, it's not only animated, it's poorly animated.
Wow.
but it is spectacular to watch.
Exactly. This movie, watching this movie, brought the inner kid in me out because I was just like, oh my goodness. And as somebody who really loves the making of films and stuff like that, it's funny how Batman '89 has been, like, throughout the years, people always talk about this movie. And then seeing it on the big screen again and just realizing that the animation that is added in there and the toy helicopter, like literally, you can totally tell that that's a toy flying away, and explosions, but you see model cars just flying, like you know that those are toy cars. And it's so cheesy, but it works. And that's what
because Tim Burton plays it straight. Okay, the thing you got to understand. Until 1989, the summer of '89, Batman blew up. Okay, before that, Batman in the mainstream pop culture was a joke because everybody remembered Adam West. And then when I know when I found out Michael Keaton was cast as Batman, I was like, shit, really? Damn it! But he pulled it off. And there's one scene, you got Jack Nicholson, you got Jack Palance. There's one scene where Jack Palance is the mob boss. Jack Nicholson, of course, becomes the Joker, but before that, he's Jack Palance's #1 guy. And they're meeting in Jack Palance's office, and there's not a scrap of... There are no curtains, there's no wallpaper, there's no artwork, there's nothing. Because you've got two guys who just chew up the scenery so hard, they ate it all before they could even start the cameras up. And it is just glorious seeing these two. Especially when Jack Palance tells Jack Nicholson, "You're my #1." That together with
#1.
You are my #1. That together with Jean-Luc Picard telling Riker, "Resistance is futile, #1." It just makes you. It's one of those things that just makes nerds stand up and go, "Yes, sir." And but that was loads of fun.
And I just want to say, in case if you have never heard of Jack Palance, because here lately, he is one of those great actors that I sadly have forgotten about. He passed away in the early '90s. Yeah. But if you trust me, go back and watch his work. If you want to see him hilarious but also tough and scary, City Slickers 1, City Slickers 2, '89 Batman. There's this one movie that he did, I can't remember what it's called, but I think it's called Tough Guys. I'm not really for sure, but check Jack Palance out.
The thing is, when Jack Palance was doing, City Slickers was like 92, 91, 92, in that area. Batman was in '89. At this point, Jack Palance is in his 70s. He's pushing 80 years old. This is when Jack Palance, after Batman '89, Jack Palance goes out at the Oscars, drops to the floor, does one-arm push-ups to show, just because he can do it, because he's Jack Palance, and F you, buddy, I'm Jack Palance. What are you going to tell me to do?
He just has that great...
Jack Palance has no F's to give, and you see a lot of... You're starting to see more and more movie stars who have no F's left to give anymore. Because Clint Eastwood has no F's to give right now. William Shatner definitely has no... William Shatner's going out picking fights with social justice warriors on Twitter right now. Did you see the last fight he had? Because he's ticked off. Somebody referred to him as cisgendered. CIS. That's the social justice insult for a straight white guy, is to call you cisgendered. He knew exactly what that meant, and he tore Twitter up. He was just munching on these little morons left and right. And, of course, everybody else, all of the Shats fans are just sitting back like... Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of F's not to give, and it's Jack Palance. It's one of those guys, him and Marlon Brando before him, who just had no F's to give and just gave the finger to everybody, and it was just so frickin' awesome. But Batman '89, it's $5 at 10th frame, guys. It's showing 3 times a day now. Get out there,
Yes.
watch it.
And
Go to 10thframe.com, buy your tickets, and get out there. Make sure you got the popcorn and the soda, and you might want to grab yourself some goobers too, because I tell you what, man, chocolate goobers with popcorn, you get the taste of the chocolate covered popcorn there. Oh, that's good stuff. It's like Cracker Jack crack. That's what it tastes like, man. Whew, good stuff. Anyway, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, they got some great movies playing right now. They got Beetlejuice,
Which is another great Michael Keaton.
yeah. They got Lost Boys,
Eh.
Land Before Time.
Hey, it's good for the kids though.
And yes, the
didn't
kids
they
will
make,
love it.
How many of those films they make?
God,
Like
I
10
think
or
there
12?
was
This is the first one though. This is the one.
this is
I
the
think
original.
Don Bluth was in this. Did this one right?
Yes, this is the original.
Actually, I think
and-
Steven Spielberg was involved with that one too,
Yes,
wasn't he?
he
That was
was.
right about the time he was doing Tiny Toons and Animaniacs,
Yes.
and he was responsible for paying for the production of it.
There wasn't many. I remember watching that with, I think it was at 8 Alice's. Because there wasn't like really too many movies to watch. So it was like Crocodile Dundee and Land Before Time.
That most wonderful time before streaming, and
Yeah, VHS days. So it's like pop in which one I want to watch, which one I want to watch. So, but yeah.
so yeah, get at 10thframe.com. Go out there, buy the tickets, buy the popcorn, buy the soda, buy the something chocolate to go with the popcorn. So are you feeling better now that you've reminisced about Land Before Time and Batman
Yes.
'89 and stuff? Okay, good, because I'm going to bring you crashing right on down. Peacock is rebooting Saved by the Bell, and the first step is almost up. Previews are leaking online, and dumpster fire. 2020 is going to be the year of the dumpster fire, because everything is just a disaster. I got to see a short clip of it, and it's like, now understand, I hate Saved by the Bell, the original one, but if I was a fan of the original Saved by the Bell, I would be reaching through my screen just so I can strangle whoever is responsible for this.
You know, I will have to admit,
I would go around shooting peacocks if I was a fan of this.
honestly, this doesn't really bother me because I was never a big fan.
Right.
I will probably check it out only because, and this is the only reason why, because there's a scene in the trailer where Slater, I think it is, he's like the principal or something, and he's talking to these 2 kids, and he's like telling the story about how he fell in love and competed with this other guy, and he's like, oh wait, that was your mom. And then I dropped her and went with another one. Oh wait, that was your mom. And I was like, okay, now that's
good.
that's funny.
Yeah, I banged all your moms. You know that, right, kids? And that's the hilarious thing. That's a true story. They really were banging each other left and right. So, and hey, kids, guess what? At your school, that happened too. Okay. Anyway, so Saved by the Bell, meh. Ren and Stimpy is being remade on Comedy Central, and absolutely nobody online can figure out why. Nobody wants this. Nobody's look. The last reboot was on was Ren and Stimpy Adult Cartoon Party, I think, and I think that was on Spike.
See,
And that lasted about 10 episodes, and everybody just crapped all over it, and it slunk away.
I was never a big fan of that either because I don't like raunchy cartoon comedies where it showed like belly button and all this green ooey furry stuff and like
Ren and Stimpy was a gross out. It was
Yeah.
it was the weakest. It was, of course, it became the most insanely popular of the original batch of Nicktoons. Quick, name the 3 original Nicktoons.
oh good lord, Nicktoons,
I already gave you one. Ren and Stimpy.
Rugrats.
Yes.
Can I add Real Monsters?
No, that's not one of the original 3.
Really?
It was Ren and Stimpy. It was Rugrats, and name the
Cat and
third
Dog?
one. No, that came much later. Can you name the third one? I'll give you a hint. It don't live at Nickelodeon anymore.
Hey Arnold?
No, that was actually the 4th. No, that was the 5th one.
Oh, shit.
I should take that back. I think Hey Arnold was 6th. Okay, let me go ahead and break it down for you. Okay, it was, you had Rugrats came on at 10 o'clock on that very first day, because I remember this day. It was on a Sunday morning, 10 a.m. It was the very first episode of Rugrats, followed by the very first episode of Doug, and then the very first episode of Ren and Stimpy at 11.
I forgot about
Doug was, yeah, he's Disney
Doug.
now, but he started out at Nickelodeon. And then I think the fourth one was Rocco's Modern Life, fifth one was Ah Real Monsters, and I believe the sixth one was Hey Arnold. And it was just, I used to be able to just tell you the first dozen right off.
Yeah, because
rattle
those were
right
the
off
good
my
old
head.
days. We
Yeah.
watched them.
Those are the ones that are showing on the Nickelodeon channel on Pluto TV
Yeah.
right now.
Well,
Speaking of Pluto TV, they're getting ready to add a bunch of new channels.
please do tell me, because I have not heard
Okay,
about
one
this
of
yet.
them. Now, the
It's not
results
news
are
channels, is it?
no, not more news channels.
More
They are.
Spike.
They're being really
MTV.
stingy with the details right now. But did see a promo on Pluto TV starting, I believe it's Tuesday the 18th this week. They're going to start showing Dabble, D-A-B-L. Dabble is one of those digital networks that airs, around here it's on channel 27.5, so it's one of KYT's sub-channels. Basically they focus on old school home improvements and cooking shows, things like that. They have stuff like Emeril Lagasse, they have old stuff of Martha Stewart, Cesar Romero, Cesar Romano. I was right the first time. The dog guy, the dog whisperer, and a bunch of other things. They have like the old British show Escape to the Country that the beloved wife absolutely adores. So that is a 24/7 channel, and it's coming to Pluto TV. They are supposed to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 channels premiering within the next 2 months. So there is more stuff coming. They are actually showing ads on Pluto TV right now for some of the new content that's about to come along. So it's just hang in there. There is new stuff coming. Wait and see what it is. If Pluto TV were smart, if CBS were smart, and CBS is not smart. If CBS were smart, they have the Paramount library, they have the CBS library, right?
Yeah.
And they have a bunch of other stuff. If they were smart, they would take Jonah Ray and the guys from the new MST3K reboot that did 2 seasons and then Netflix cut them loose. They would take those guys, turn them loose on the Viacom Paramount library, and just start putting new episodes of Mystery Science Theater 3000 on Pluto TV. Because they have an entire channel where they just show the same, I think it's 36 films over and over. 'Cause
That'd
that's
be
all they have
nice.
rights to.
That'd be nice.
That would be nice. But anyway.
I want to tell more people about Pluto, but I'm afraid the better it gets, sooner or later down the road, that's all what people are going to be wanting, and then we'll have to start paying for it.
Here's the thing, okay? Now, I actually called this, I believe, last year. I think I called this when CBS bought Pluto TV. I said if they're smart, Pluto TV will be the free tier, so they'll have like the really old stuff. And then All Access would be like the mid tier. That would be the stuff that has some of the new stuff on it, the newer stuff on it. And then they're going to come up with like Showtime Plus or something where they're going to have all the premium content. And so far it seems that's what's happening, because you have Pluto TV still being pushed hard by CBS because it outdoes every other aggregator on streaming television today. It's the #1 free streaming service on the Roku universe and the Amazon universe and all these little streaming devices and stuff. It's far and away #1. With All Access, they're talking about changing that around, whether they're going to go the Showtime Plus route or not, I don't know, just like HBO Max did. But we'll have to wait and see. But I believe that's probably the way they're going to go. They're going to have a free tier, they're going to have an ad-supported tier, and then a premium tier. Which, hey,
Be awesome.
it does work. speaking of CBS and Star Trek, now Pluto TV does have a Star Trek channel, and all they're showing is the same 24 episodes of The Next Generation.
Yeah, they are. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the show, but yeah, after seeing the same episode like repeatedly, and I don't know why they're doing that because they have enough Star Trek stuff to take care of them for a while. They did show the first episode of
Lower Decks.
Lower Deck.
What did you think of that, by the way? I think I lasted 2 minutes into the first
I don't like
episode.
the characters. The characters are
Yeah,
pretty
the characters
stupid.
the characters are stupid. That's just it. Why are you set? I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing this and setting it on a ship that's not the Enterprise. Okay, I'm good with that. Stop making them so unlikable. Because 2 minutes in and I'm already annoyed by these guys.
Yeah, I was annoyed by pretty much all of them.
And guess what? If you think you're being clever, you think you're being snarky and stuff, that'll give you a good rep. You lose your audience in the first 2 minutes. You're not going to get 90% of them back because they will never give you another chance.
You know, a really good show that I think did it well, and I hope Hulu brings them back for what, third season. The Orville.
Yeah,
The Orville was really good, surprisingly.
I
really good.
I watched the first episode of The Orville. Okay, and again, this is what happens when you think you're being clever and you do something and you turn off your audience and 90% of them don't come back. The first scene of The Orville in the first episode, do you remember what it involved? It involved the captain of the Orville walking in through a door and catching his wife banging some alien something or other.
Yeah.
And I turned it off and walked away. Now, I hadn't come back to the Orville until last week. I actually got a free month of Hulu. I'm gonna give it another try. And I made it through the first couple of episodes of the Orville, and it's like I skipped that part that turned me off at the first episode. Matter of fact, I think I skipped the whole first episode because it's always a waste setting things up anyway. I started in on the second episode, started watching, managed to get through 2 or 3 episodes. I'm like, yeah, this isn't as bad. It's better than a lot of the Star Trek crap they're turning out right now.
I mean, it's better than what I thought because the person who created it is McFarlane, who's the same guy who did Family Guy, American Dad,
Cleveland Show, and all those other things.
So I thought it was going to be like a really goofy comedy, and it's like, no, actually, I mean, there's comedy, but it actually has a smart storyline. You know, they actually do things that are
That's just it.
clever.
Every once in a while, he'll put in some kind of crappy little throwaway punchline or something. It's like, come on. But then they get back to the actual story. It's like, yeah, I can get into this. And then I'm hearing tale that Seth MacFarlane is actually working on something else. I don't have details on that yet. So I don't know if the Orville's going to be back or not. If he's already working on another project. But I think it's another property he's resurrecting. I can't remember which one, though. And I didn't bring any of my gadgets to make sure. So.
we'll hear about it.
Well. So, yeah, Star Trek Lower Decks. Saved by the Bell's being rebooted. Ren and Stimpy's being rebooted. Spectrum is wanting data caps. Spectrum, I swear to goodness, if you institute data caps on my high-speed internet that I pay almost $100 a month for, I'm going to take this 12.5 wide foot and I'm going to shove it so far up your digitas that you're never going to be able to stop spitting shoe leather. So Spectrum customers, keep an eye on that. They're trying to get the FCC to let them get away with it. That was where they merged between Charter and Spectrum, and they agreed they wouldn't do data caps for like 5 years after the merger, and it's 2 years, and they're already trying to squirm out of it. The little fricks. Anyway, little fricks. What else? I've got a couple of other things I'd written down. Have you seen the Smart Food Cap'n Crunch popcorn mix yet?
The what?
Have you ever seen Smart Food? Smart Food popcorn? Comes in a big black bag. It's white cheddar popcorn. best white chip, best popcorn there is out there.
I've seen it. It has a big corn on
Yeah,
okay,
great stuff. And oh man, to get that white cheddar all over your fingers while you're sitting there eating
It's not
it
bad.
up.
It is pretty good. I admit
It's
that.
really good. They now have a Captain Crunch Crunchberry popcorn mix. This is not a joke. Smart Food popcorn in a Smart Food bag, but it's got Captain Crunch Crunchberries added inside, and the popcorn is fruit flavored. It looks white, but it's fruit flavored. So it has natural flavorings of fruits and stuff in it, but it's got the little crunchberry. I think it's supposed to be strawberry, but I don't know of any strawberry. It tastes like crunchberry. But anyway.
That's actually pretty interesting.
That's out. It's starting to work its way out there. So keep your eye open, because that is nerd junk candy right there.
I eat Captain Crunch, both kinds, the berries and the ones without the berries, all the time without milk. I don't know what it is. Like I'll take, like as soon as I open the box, I'll reach in there and I'm like, I like that. Sounds good. That might be pretty good.
I got two things left before we close up today. What all do you have? Or have I covered anything?
Well,
yet?
I have a Bruce Lee story that I think would be
Go ahead and
funny.
tell a Bruce Lee story.
Alright, so back in the day when Green Hornet and Batman TV show was on, which was like what, 60s? 60 something, yeah. They decided to do a crossover with both shows. Well, according to this information, Bruce Lee, who played Kato on the Green Hornet, was supposed to do a fight scene with Robin and lose.
That ain't happening, y'all.
It didn't happen. In fact, he walked off the set. People were wondering, like, why did he do that? Well, his publicist ended up talking to them, and they was like, is Bruce Lee really that good? And he's like, he's Superman good. And that actually got Burt Ward, who played Robin, scared. He's like, I don't want to do this. So they decided to change the whole thing. I thought that was a great story to actually tell because it's pretty funny.
The best part of it is, well, of course, we know Bruce Lee now. He's a master of martial arts. Bruce Lee had such control over everything he did, every strike. He did everything on purpose. There was no wasted movement for Bruce Lee. Burt Ward was probably safer fighting Bruce Lee than in all the little gang fights that they had filmed the rest of the episodes. But still, that is hilarious. I had heard that that Burt Ward and Bruce Lee were supposed to get into a fight during that crossover.
Yeah.
And can you imagine today how derided that would be if they had shown Robin beating Kato? Because everybody had been like, that's so full of crap.
Well, I mean, it's kind of wild because, I mean, the Green Hornet, Kato, even though Kato was supposed to be the sidekick, he was literally the Batman, and Green Hornet was the Robin, pretty much. You know, it's like
That's why in Asian territories it's called the Kato Show to this day.
and the way it should be because that's the way. I mean, he kicked butt. He did more things in the Green Hornet than what the Green Hornet did. The Green Hornet usually got captured or something like that. And Kato just jumped in and like.
I always felt a little bad for what was his name? Van Williams played the Green Hornet. I always felt a little bad for him because here you are. You're trying to be this big. I mean, the Green Hornet's supposed to be a criminal, but he's actually a good guy. So Van Williams, and they're trying to play this straight. They're not camping it like Batman did. So he's trying to play this straight and everything. And then here comes Bruce Lee. Van Williams throws a punch. And here's Bruce Lee. He's already done 6 karate kicks upside some guy's head. He's got 5 people laying all around him at the same time it took Van Williams to take a swing. And he's got to be looking around like, oh, crap, it's going to be like this all through the show, ain't it? Poor old
It's
guy.
hilarious. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But that was just a funny story that I read last night, and I was like, I gotta say that. I gotta talk about this because this is great.
Anyway,
That's fun.
that's fun stuff. Anyway, you got anything else? Like I said, I got two stories. One's great, the other one's not so.
The only story I got, which is really, I just don't care, and that's like AMC is reopening next month, and they're going to have showing movies for 15 cents.
Yeah, on their first day back. Yeah.
And honestly, I don't care because they're going bankrupt, which is stupid to do on their bankruptcy thing. But they're going bankrupt, and so far AMC's just turned out to be a total dick.
They're a tool, yeah.
I mean,
They were a tool before the Rona again.
So yeah, I really just don't care. Go ahead.
Well, we've gone over. We actually saw a couple of Fathom events over in Lexington at an AMC theater, and it was like $15, $20 a ticket, which wouldn't be so bad. But you know, a good chunk of that went to that one theater. It's just like, anyway.
Somebody will eventually. They're going to fall, and then somebody's going to take over, and then it'll
Probably
be
some
the big
Chinese
thing
guy.
again.
So anyway, let me give you I got good news and bad news. Let me give you bad news first.
Okay.
Oprah Winfrey is at it. You're not going to believe this. You may have heard of this. I don't know if you guys have heard this or not. Oprah Winfrey bought 26 billboards. She rented 26 billboards in Louisville to demand justice for Breonna Taylor. Now, Breonna Taylor was I did get that name right?
Yeah.
Now, she was an innocent bystander. Over in Louisville, a bunch of cops were supposed to be raiding some drug guy. They went to the wrong address, and they wound up. The cops who were involved wound up shooting their guns instead of actually verifying what was going on before they started opening fire, because they're all on edge to begin with.
From what I was told, she was just sitting on the couch when
Yeah.
she got killed.
Yes. So Breonna Taylor, absolutely innocent, an innocent bystander in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Again, this is not a race issue. This is something again that they really need. Somebody really needs to come up with
It's
a plan
the
for the
incompetence
cops
Yes.
to have restraint on. Like what? Just because they wear a badge doesn't mean that they're train them military style or something.
Well, that's
Do
just
something.
it. Military style, you're trained to shoot first.
Oh,
Anyway.
really? Oh, never mind that.
Anyway, you don't want to train military
Never
style,
mind
okay?
that.
The thing is, okay, I have no problem with demanding justice for Breonna Taylor,
Yeah.
okay? The police involved should be held responsible. The Louisville Police Department needs to change their tactics. It was a no-knock warrant,
Yeah.
okay? They do no-knock warrants because they're afraid whoever is inside that apartment is going to open fire, is going to start shooting through the door and try to take off, I don't know, through the toilet or something out the back. I don't know. That's why they do the no-knock warrant, so they can get the element of surprise. No-knock warrants don't work, okay? Because, again, where's the guy going to go? Down the toilet? Anyway. So, and if the cops were actually, thinking things through, they would have people covering every exit of the place where you're serving the no-knock warrant, so you still don't need it, because you still catch the guy. Anyway. So, I actually have a problem, not with the Breonna Taylor situation, not with the response, not with the marches and all this stuff. I do have a problem with the violence. I have a problem with Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey, like I said, rented 26 billboards, one for each year of Breonna Taylor's age when she died. But you know damn well this has nothing to do with justice for Breonna Taylor. This has everything to do with Oprah Winfrey and her crappy little TV channel and her lousy little magazine. Oprah Winfrey is buying exposure.
This whole race thing is really kind of just getting out of hand. I was going to talk about it, but I didn't want to.
Well, and I don't want to spend too much time on it either, because we have discussed this. We've discussed this ad nauseum. It does no good.
Well,
nobody's willing to listen to each other.
Exactly, and what's been really bothering me here lately is that there was a little boy that got shot by his neighbor, and everybody is upset because the media is not talking about it, And I'm seeing this all over Facebook where people are literally just like, why isn't this being talked about? And what gets me is that the article, everything I read about this is black man kills white child. And it's like, and people are posting this who are saying, why isn't the media covering this? Are the same people who says Black Lives Matter. It's like you're using this kid in a race war. This child's death, I mean, yeah, what happened is horrible, but don't use him in this race war, okay? Just stop. It's, oh, God. People are
Yes.
sorry.
So, let's...
Okay.
Do you want to feel a lot better now? Let's get off of this topic, okay?
Yeah,
I don't want to spend time on this topic because
Okay.
it's been done to death and nobody's listening.
No.
It's all going to wear itself out, especially when the people with the arms and the areas that are being invaded decide to start shooting back. You're suddenly going to see a sudden stop to a lot of the rioting. Anyway. Target in October, okay? Going from race riots to Targets, okay? Target stores in October.
This is the good news.
This is the good news.
Okay.
They have a new board game coming out. Hold on. Wait a minute. You ready?
Alright, what's this?
The Princess Bride Storybook board game. This is not a joke. This is really coming. You will get to choose one of the 6 main characters in the show, in the movie, okay? So you can be Buttercup, you can be Wesley, you can be Vizzini even, you can be Count Ruger, you can be Andre the Giant's character, you can be Mandy Patinkin's character. Okay, so those are your 6 characters. You play around the storybook. Yes, and Peter Falk and his grandfather and Fred Savage as the kid are actually involved in the game as you're playing the game, progressing through the storyline. The idea is to work your way through the story and try to get the best ending you can get, while Fred Savage and Peter Falk are interfering with you through the form of little gameplay cards and stuff. They'll turn up every once in a while. Ew, they're kissing again, and it's just to mess with you. But you get these little colored plastic figures for each character, and you get to work, and it actually opens up like a storybook. So this entire board game opens up like a storybook, and you just work your way around the story and play through the story of the Princess Bride. And one person can play it, up to 6 people can play it. This is coming out to Target in October, and it's going to run about $25, and I guarantee you this is going to be one of the Christmas gifts of the year.
You know, we need to put a sign up here with a string attached to it, and the sign's going to say Nerd Alert, and we're just like, Nerd Alert, Nerd Alert, because I'm about to geek out all over this. I am not much on board games, but this is one I will totally get.
Now,
I want it.
Now, I actually got Chris a board game for
Ghostbusters
not that long ago, and the main reason I got it was why? Because the little characters that came inside.
That's really cool. It's cool. The miniature Slimer and the Ghostbusters and the different types of ghosts. That's really cool.
So anyway, just keep your eyes open. Do a search for the Princess Bride Storybook board game, and you'll start finding references to it everywhere. I believe I tweeted it out. Nobody reads my tweets.
And when does this come out?
This is coming out in October, just in time. Hopefully, this is... Now understand, this is not Hasbro. It's not Mattel putting this out. It's a smaller game publisher. Quantity's going to be limited, especially at the beginning. So make sure you keep your eyes open. I checked. Believe me, I've already checked the Target website to see if I can find this yet.
To pre-order something.
And when I started the search for it on the Target website, that was the very first thing that popped up. But it doesn't have a page yet. They don't refer to it yet. But it is coming to Target in October. So keep an eye out for the Princess Bride Storybook board game, $25. And if you, like me, like I gotta admit, the beloved wife turned me on to it. And if you're like us at all and you're into the Princess Bride, this is going to be the Christmas gift for them.
Yes, and you know, I don't know how many people I've told that needs to watch this movie. And don't let the name fool you, because trust me.
Don't let Rob Reiner's politics play into it, because he's the producer on this and the director. This is hands down hands down, this was the sleeper hit of the 80s, okay? Because this came out of nowhere. And it was one of those things like Casablanca. It took the Casablanca route. I think it was TNT and TBS had the rights to it. I think Warner Brothers produced it. So they just showed it over and over and over again. Anytime they had a blank space in the schedule, they would show the Princess Bride, and people got used to it, and they're like, hey, this. And then they started singing along with it, and you started getting into the Dread Pirate Roberts and all the other stuff. It's one of those things, if you have not seen it. And 10th frame, please, if there's any way.
Actually, they already did a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah. But it'd be nice for them to. That was only for like their one-day special or something like that.
Yeah.
Their summer thing.
Bring it back.
But yeah, bring it back.
Yeah, that
Please.
was their one day summer family
But
special.
yeah, I mean, me and some friends of mine literally just got through playing Clue not too long ago. And I told them, I was like, have you guys ever seen the movie? And they're like, there's a movie? And I tried to explain it to them, and they didn't get it. And finally we sat there and we watched the movie. They laughed, but at the end of Clue, they switched it so many times that at the very end of the movie, they're like, so who did it? But they laughed. They liked it, but they were like confused at the end. I was like, it's just one of those type of. It's not like comedies nowadays. It's like, you know.
Anyway, I'm done. You got anything left? No, you done? Are you done?
I'm done.
He's
I'm
done. Okay, so I don't know how long we have got to start keeping the clock in here. We've been at this for a while. I can't tell what time it is, but
we've been doing it for a while.
We do tend to start on these things and go on, because I know we're both going to get a dirty look from my beloved wife about how long we were in there. But
I know we've been on doing podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So how have we been doing on that?
We've made a whole 35 cents on the podcast.
How many people listen? One person listens to us.
We got one person who regularly listens to our podcast. And it's just as well. I forgot to post any podcasts past 2 weeks too. I finally got the one with Scott up, I think a couple of days ago. So I need to do better. I'm going to try to do better on that. That's if I get the gumption up to actually start doing podcasts again, and if I actually get the website up. That's another thing. We'll see.
I've still been wanting to do a podcast on movie reviews, but I haven't given it a try since last time. And last time I did the whole thing, messed it up because of the commercial went over me talking, and then I had to add an email or something like that. Something I forgot what happened. It's been a while, but I tried.
Yeah, you tried.
I thought about trying it again.
You tried.
But gosh.
So anyway, till next time, I'm Spike.
I'm Chris.
We'll see you somewhere down the road here on the Spike and Chris show. Let's see if I can turn this thing off this time. Yeah, let's see if
No.
that did work. Try that. No, still didn't work.
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.